Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of We're Screwed. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash, Andy Andrews. How you fuckers doing?
I'm doing pretty fucking good, guys. How you doing?
Yep, same here.
I had like a weird fucking rhythm on that introduction. I was like chanting or something. It was fucking crazy. Okay, so on this episode, we're welcoming Andy back. He's been gone for a while, been going through some shit, but he's also been filming some shit. He's been on like, I don't know, 20, 30, 50, 80, 100 shows. I don't know how many fucking shows this guy's everywhere. So without further ado, I'm going to throw over to Mr. Hollywood over here, Andy Andrews, and get his tales on all the different shows he's been on. He's been on Ghost Hunters and been on with Sean Austin and been on some kind of like one of those haunting shows and all kinds of shit. So, Andy, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back, man. Have a few downers that's happened over the last couple of weeks, but we got to pull on with that and keep going. But talking about the shows I've been on, so I did an episode with Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters, and he, check out his, give him a little spot here. Check out Jason Hawes' Ghost Hunters page. I believe it's Jason Hall's Taps, but if you just put in Jason Hall's in YouTube, that'll bring it up. You can subscribe. I don't think you have one that's free and then one like $2 a month that gets you kind of behind the scenes stuff and whatnot. Jason, Jay and I met, I don't know, years ago, but really got to know each other over the last like 3 years. And whenever he comes to Gettysburg, he always stays in the Lincoln Inn, which is right beside my shop. And so first time he was there, man, we got together, had a blast. And, they were filming like a little pilot, I guess, for that area. And then when he came back this time, he came in, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and he come through the front door and he was like, "Where the F is Andy Andrews at?" And I'm kind of hiding behind the counter. I was like, he doesn't work here no more. Get the fuck out. Yeah, but anyway, came in, man. We spoke, watched some of the game together, stuff like that. And that's when he asked me if I'd like to come over. He asked me what kind of app that I used for like communication. And I said, well, I like the Phasma box. I said, but I really don't trust a lot of the apps, period. But that one has brought some weird stuff with it, which I'm sure all of them do. But like that one's been spot on a few times in places that it was at. So he was like, well, how would you like to film with us? And we'll use that and try to see what happens. And, obviously it's Jason Hall. So yeah, so like we went out, well, prior to that, when he was there the last time, he did like a little promo of where he was staying and walked outside and had me on camera for a second and said something about, Ghost City. And then this time what they did was took me over and set me in front of the camera. And the first part of it was them interviewing me and the things that I have seen and witnessed at the Lincoln Inn. Then after that, we kind of wrapped it up, went out to dinner, came back, and went in and set up the Phasma box. And to be honest with you, JB that works with Jason, he is awesome guy, funny guy. He looks a little serious when he's on, film, but he also is a tech savvy individual. And so he doesn't like Phasma box too much. So it was one of those kind of, him and I talking, and I agreed with everything he was saying. He was right on a lot of stuff. And I was like, yeah, well, we did a Phasma session. It wasn't the best, like hardly anything came through. But also the things that came through, we were having a hard time hearing them, man. And what I found out after the fact was that the speaker that I had it on was made more for like a low end sound. And so what ended up happening was a lot of stuff was muffled. So I think we're going to try again next time they come in. I think that's in June. But it was a cool stuff that was happening, like one of the doors opened upstairs that JV had all the equipment in. So obviously he closed it, and we heard it click. You know what I mean? Went upstairs. Jason finds it open. leaves it open, comes back down the steps, and then we heard it shut again later, about a half hour later. So, but working with these guys, man, they're just people, you know what I'm saying? He's got just him and 2 other guys that are doing the YouTube, and that was awesome. So, cool experience. Glad to have done it. Look forward to doing it again. We'll see. Then the next one, back last September, I actually went to Kentucky, was invited to Kentucky with Brandon Alvis, who's Ghost Hunters, and Mustafa Galori also, and then Kevin Oddie, who is part of Bluegrass Studios, and Craig Smith. They all invited me down, and the reason why was they were looking for people who had lost loved ones and had been part of, having some kind of contact, like knowing that those loved ones have reached out. And Brandon and I, we share something, the way his brother, went out to the next plane, I want to say. But anyway, when his brother left here, went out the same way as my ex-wife. And so both of us have that in common. We've talked about that quite a few times, outside of what this was. And really what it is, it's called Family Spirits. It's Haunted Discoveries. Haunted Discoveries is on Haunt TV. They're getting ready to go on a couple other different, I think, not sure if, they're on T&E in Canada, and you can pick up that, but also T&E in Canada is Haunt TV. It's what they are here in the States, but they're not showing Family Spirits yet, but it's showing up north. But also now they're looking at, Discovery Plus probably, so that should be on there. But the whole reason why he's doing this, man, is to hopefully, and this is why I was so fast to jump on it, is because what it is he wants to use it. He's hoping that it'll put a message out there that this isn't the end, like people, he's hoping it'll help people that are grieving, give them a little bit of sense of, hope. Anybody that is grieving, we try to get them to, he puts out a couple numbers on the show, tries to make sure that people can call in, but it's, still paranormal, but it's definitely being put out there as a message of, hope that that you will see them again, that you will spend time with them again. But it also touches base on, depression and stuff, people that are going through that when they're grieving so hard. And, it just, the whole message for that show and everything, it's still got the paranormal touch to it because it's things that are happening, and what they do is they interviewed me and my oldest son, Trevor, and it was his mom that passed away. And some weird things happened while we were doing it. But what they do is they take and they record us and asking questions and telling, what our story is, but they recreate how the communication has been and stuff, like what's happened. So I would definitely tell people when that comes out. I think he said he might be putting it up on YouTube as well. That is something to watch because some of the stories that I was listening to prior to myself, I was blown away. Like he was showing it to me on, their camera and stuff. And yeah, but what's cool about it is they do the interview with both people, or how many ever you got. Then you got Craig, who is, he was a detective out in L.A. Actually, he still lives in L.A. He wrote a book out there about real history of haunted places or something. And so he goes through and gets a bunch of like back history of the family and, ancestry and stuff. And then he sets you down and says things. And really, to be honest, I think what they're trying to do is get you to cry because they're telling you things, to make it emotional. And, Trevor and I both are kind of stone-faced type of people, So it didn't really happen a whole lot for him, but it was nice, man. It turned out to be a good episode. I've seen all of it. I just look about like 100 pounds more than I am now by television. So anyway, but then the next thing I've been on is Sean Austin has his own show on YouTube, and he did a show. We have Ghost City Tours. We have a house that we rent that we take people on paid investigations on. And Sean, when he was in town last year during the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, he wanted to go somewhere where he wouldn't get bothered by a bunch of people. And so I gave him the keys to the house. I told him going out, it's the house on Knoxland Ridge. And he goes out there and had some pretty wild experiences. So what he did was put a little documentary / episode together of Ghosts of Gettysburg type of deal. And I told the history of the place. And he kind of, you know, did a really good job, actually, of introducing you know, the house and the history. I was telling the history of it, and everything that I would say, like he would put in the references that I had told about history and what was happening, you know, what they picked up while they were there investigating, which was pretty wild. And Sean's got a new app out. I tell you, man, I don't believe in a lot of apps, but that one, SIP app, you can only get it on if you got a iPhone right now. It's like $16, something like that. But literally what it is, you speak into it like a text. You push a button, you speak, and it texts it out on the app. And then when you get a response, it actually texts back that response. So you don't have to argue with people on what you're picking up. It's like an EVP recorder, but you're just seeing it like an Ovilus, I guess, or whatever. And I told him nothing about the house. And as we're in there, or as he was in there, he goes up the steps. Well, you know, true history, a girl by the name of Rosemary, but they called her Rosie. She died when she was 7 years old in there. Her death certificate said she died from respiratory issues and high fever. So they said they buried her with her favorite dolls, and, you know, she had a lot of flowers or something, it said in the paper thing. Well, what's crazy is he has this app out, and he goes up and sits at the top of the steps, which is right beside the door that the room she died in. And the app pops up. He's asking normal questions. What's your name? And it comes up Rosie. And then he said, Rosie, how old are you? 7. And it was like, and then I asked, what's your favorite toys? She said, dolls. And it's like, man, you know, I wasn't there. He didn't know the history of that. So luckily he even showed me that, you know what I'm saying? Because it was random. So yeah, man, that kind of flipped me out a little bit. But the thing is, man, all 3 of them were awesome experiences. You know, Haunted Discoveries, that was the one that hit home with me, you know, and that's the one that I was so happy to be part of, because Haunted Discoveries, man, is becoming probably one of the top shows, and they deserve it completely because they're honest. You know, they're not throwing in any bullshit. They're not making up stuff, you know, and then some of the stuff they get, you know, is if it's questionable, they throw it out there and just say, you make the decision on this. This is what we think it is, and they leave it at that. But Brandon Alvis is one. He mixes science with everything else, man, and that's kind of like that mixture is awesome, you know, to have. And they've done some pretty crazy places. So anyway, I'd say check Haunted Discoveries out as well, just the regular investigative shows, because it's full of history. He just bought 2 historical houses, man. One of them was an actual Civil War hospital. The guy was already a surgeon, and then all of a sudden, man, the battle happens right out in his backyard practically. So it was so bad in front of the poke house is what it's called. The walls were blood, man, you know, from just doing the surgeries and stuff. And so you can actually go there and investigate. Just have to get a hold of Brandon, or, you know, get a hold of me, and I could probably get them in. But I'm wanting to go back down there and kind of check that out. But it's the Battle of Perryville. So, yep. So that's what I've been doing. And then my sister passed away, unfortunately, quickly. So that took me out for a couple weeks. But, you know, I'm a little different when it comes to death. I celebrate it, I guess, a little bit. You know, I celebrate their life, I should say. You know, everybody goes through the grieving, but also nobody really takes the chance. They may say it, but we should live on the memories that were good. You know what I'm saying? And be lucky and be thankful for having somebody in your life such as that. And so, more of my pain was more of watching the kids go through it, my boys, because they were close with her. But yeah, I'm glad to be back, man, and ready to move forward and keep on cruising. A lot of things this year coming up, I hope.
Yeah, Wendy, for the audience, that's the name of Andy's sister. Wendy was an amazing person. And I had just seen her like a couple days before that. I think I was even told you like 3 or 4 days before she died. I told you I just seen her up at Walmart, and she was walking around Walmart just looking all over, like every aisle, looking around. And I said, Wendy, what the hell are you doing? And she goes, oh, hey, James. She goes, I can't find my damn grandma. She's gone. I said, what do you mean she's gone? Because his grandma's like old, man. She's like hanging out with Moses old. She's fucking old. And I said, what do you mean she's gone? She goes, she done lost me again. I don't know where the hell she did. Because what she'll do is she'll be walking along and then just dip. She's just gone. Doesn't give a shit. And she just goes and does whatever she
104.
wants. Yeah, 104 years old. And she just does whatever the hell she wants. And she still motors, man. She's gets along. She's an awesome person, too. So I was laughing and I said, well, good luck finding her. I said, she's quicker than you, Wendy. And then I saw her the next day at the dollar store there in Strasbourg. And I walked up behind him, about scared your grandmother to death. I said, well, I see you found this old bird. She's like, what the? Yeah, she was an awesome person, man. I really liked her a lot. I've known her years and years and years, man. She was great. And it's neat. I want to check out that show you were talking about, that Haunted Discoveries. I haven't seen that yet because I like the fact that they mix, the history and the science in with it, that it's not just a bunch of BS and that they don't lie, because that's why I don't watch the majority of ghost shows, because they're full of shit. That's one thing I always loved and respected out of Jason was his show, Ghost Hunters, was one of the only ones that I could trust what I was watching. Those guys had integrity, and they didn't bullshit you. You know what I mean? And they were another one that had almost like a scientific approach to it, trying to disprove it and stuff, which I think is super important. But I'll never forget. Speaking of the other show you were on, I'll never forget. I believe it was Harper's Ferries where we were at that kid's place when Kat came through, and that was a heavy moment, man. And it was an honor to be able to share that with you, brother. But that was pretty fucking spectacular. And it's funny because that's one thing that I don't think people realize and understand is you could be out doing these investigations, and it can have absolutely nothing to do with you or your loved one. You could be trying to help somebody else, or you're dealing with another situation, and then all of a sudden they come through. That house there in Strasbourg, where Mandy was living. Remember, my grandmother came through there, and I had that whole thing with my grandmother to where we got in a huge fight, and then she went into the hospital, and I never got to, make up with her and everything. And I carried that shit for decades with me, and it destroyed me for a while. I always carried that guilt, and she came through to let me know that it was all good and that we were cool. You know what I mean? Those kind of moments are amazing, and if you're lucky in life, that happens where you get something like that. So I'm proud of you, man. I'm happy for you. I mean, it's about time that you get your ass out there and do something. Stop being so bashful. You know what I mean? That's a little inside joke between us because Andy's anything but bashful. He's one of them bombacious, outgoing, charismatic fucking people that it's weird because on the show, he's a lot more buttoned up. Like when we're sitting here talking, he's a lot more buttoned up and he seems like the most conservative of us and the most like, yeah, this is how it happened and this is what I did. You know what I mean? You would never know that he's the way he is from just watching this. But in person, that motherfucker's a trip. He is just fun as hell to hang out with. And he's one of those guys that if you got 80 or 90 people jump you, he'll be right there getting his ass whooped with you. You know what I mean? I've known this man damn near my whole life. Love him, respect him. And I'm super stoked for you, brother. I'm very happy that you got some shows going and stuff. And look at the old boy doing some weird, dumb shit. All right, I'll throw over to the old boy and find out what the hell he wants because I don't understand his California sign language, them damn California people.
It was called running because that's what he would have probably done. It would have been me and you getting our asses kicked, and we would have saved. But no, that's my smart ass. That's because you can't read because you're in fucking Virginia, fucker. No wonder Andy left, but he didn't go anywhere, and Pennsylvania's no better. But yeah, that's really good, bro. And yeah, I didn't know your sister, but I want to give you my condolences for my family. And yeah, Andy's a really cool guy, guys. Sometimes you don't see it because he's on here and he gets reserved and stuff like that. But when he gets off camera, he's a whole different fucking person. What's really weird, and it is, especially when he sees a good looking woman, he totally changes. But he's a whole different slick Andy there, like, but he changes. But it is kind of funny. But no, I'm glad you were on those shows. The funny thing is, he called me. This asshole calls me, walks into his place. Yeah, I got a surprise for you. You want to talk to him? And gets off the fucking phone, forgets to call me for the rest of the day, and didn't tell me anything. This is what he did that day, and I've already met Jason. I met him in Vegas a couple years back at a at the
Hold on,
convention.
you
in
didn't
Vegas.
tell the whole story though. I was mic'd up, okay? I had a mic and I forgot about it. So I went to the bathroom next door at my shop, okay? And I'm sitting in there, man, taking care of business and talking to him about them. And I'm like, they heard everything, man, like peeing and everything. So that's what happened. I walked in, he's like, and I just had to hang up.
Hey, hold
But
on. You said you were sitting down taking care of business. You took a shit on a hot mic?
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah.
Only Andy.
I'm out.
Only Andy. I would have never. I would have.
I didn't care, but I just totally forgot. I still probably would have. I mean, even I know it was mic'd up, but I totally forgot about that when I went in. I just had to get there, get business done so I could get back. And I'm like talking to him, right at the end of things, and walk over there. And the guy's like looking at me real funny. John is, he's like, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot I was hot mic'd. And yeah, so he heard everything. But yeah, thank God I wasn't straining or nothing. You know what I mean?
No, I'm glad you didn't call me when you're on the shitter. Dude, that would have really sucked. But he called me telling me about this shit. Never called me back. But I've met Jason before at the convention in Vegas a couple years back. And he was really cool. And we met him before that. And we met at the time, what was it, Destination Fear, but they changed the name now. And they were really cool. I met a couple, Zap. I met him, Zappa. He was really cool. I met a lot of good teams. I met Ghost Brothers. They were really cool. I met his friends. He also knows Kendon Spirits. They were really cool when they found out who I was. Jerome was all right. A couple other guys were there that, I'm not going to say nothing. We'll leave it at that. But I met him there, and he was really cool. So that's a big honor because and just so you guys know, the reason we're not on a show is because we will not lie. And we're very controversial. Me and James, our mouths are real bad, and we don't give a fuck. So this is why we do this show. And I don't care. I really don't care. I don't want to be a millionaire to lie. I'm not going to lie to you people. I'm not like that. James isn't a liar, and Andy sure in hell isn't a liar. Trust me, money's good. If they want to give us a show, we'll do it. And then we've talking, just so you guys know, so we're all on this fucking page right now because we're doing a show. We are talking to people about it. We've been for years. Just shit always ends up fucking us, dude. Something happens, somebody hates, somebody does, that just happens. It's life. One day we will be on TV, and the world will see the greatest of all time. But till then, you have to deal with fucking Baggins and all these other assholes. But when you finally get the greatest of all time, the greatest voice of all time, and one of the greatest paranormal indicators in the world, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I'm proud of him, man, because he's been doing this for years, longer than I have, and James has. He's a fucking G. I'm not. I've only been doing this for 10 years. James, 15, 16 years. He's always been around spirits, so have I, but I've never really been doing the investigations. I'm just a natural. It just happens. And I was talking about this the other day on the show. Me and James, have something that other people don't have. Negative doesn't bother me like it does other people. I think maybe we were talking about energy. Our show was really deep on staring. Check it out Sunday on Parax Radio. Didn't want to plug that, but you'll understand what we're talking about. It was a very deep conversation, and we got into it very deep. And we put things about psychic vampires, but it has nothing to do with the show. But that's the stuff we do, and that's what we're known for. And I will go into places that most people won't do. Neither so Andy, so was James. They've done it. They've gone to some haunted ass places. So have I. Some of the most known he has. Both of them have. Gettysburg is one of the top 5 in the world. So I mean, they know that. But I'll tell you this right now: you put us on one of these shows with anyone else, and I'm telling you, we'll be just as good or better. That's just my opinion. But who gives a fuck what I think, right? I'm the crazy fuck. But other than that, I'm glad Andy's back. We haven't had him for about a month. So, and he was sick and he had his surgery. I've actually felt 5 weeks, so I'm glad he's back. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the show because it's pretty long. I don't know. You have anything else to say, James, or you want me to do some shout outs?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, like, the reason I'm not on a show is because I just don't care. I just can't be bothered. You know what I mean? Like, anymore, bro, I'm at the point in my life, I just don't give a shit. I want to do things that interest me, and I could care less about TV. I could care less about, doing any of this shit. Like, I don't go and do signings much anymore. I don't go and do, like, I always, probably once a month, once every other month, I get people calling me, asking me, or not calling me, but they talk to me online on messengers and stuff, asking me if I want to come to this Paracon or that Paracon or do this or do that. I just don't care. Like, if it's interesting, I'm down. You know what I mean? But the problem is, it's never interesting. It's always the same bullshit, and I don't want to do bullshit. I mean, you want to put me in a place, send me to the haunted forest over in Japan, send me to, Amityville, send me someplace real, send me something that's next level crazy. I'm down. That would be interesting. You know what I mean? But I can't be bothered with all the normal bullshit all the time. It drives me crazy. You know what I mean? It's to me it's not worth it anymore. It used to be. But now it's like you go to a place, and first of all, a lot of the places you got to pay to even get into the son of a bitch, which is ridiculous. And then you go there and they've done rented it out to like 4 or 5 different teams at the same time. So you got all these idiots running around and don't even know what the hell they're doing, making all kinds of noise. You got all this cross contamination. It's just, you can't be bothered, And I'll work residential cases sometimes, like with Andy and with other people, and that's okay. I like helping people. That's wonderful. You know what I mean? But I can't be bothered with all the nonsense, the self promotion. I just don't care about any of that shit. I don't care about being famous anymore. I don't care about being rich. I don't care about any of that shit. And maybe that's coming from a place of privilege. Maybe that's coming from a place where I don't have to care about that anymore. You know what I mean? Because I'm okay. But I don't know, man. It's just not that important to me. Like, you guys never hear me on here tooting my own horn, or I leave all that shit up to old boy. he's the egomaniac in the group. You know what I mean? I just want to do stuff that's interesting to me. And if a project comes along that's interesting, and somebody wants me to be involved with it, and it piques my interest, then I'd be honored to do that. You know what I mean? To play whatever small role I can play in it, that's fine. I have no desire to be, hamming it up on camera and that bullshit. I get all that out of my system doing this. You know what I mean? Having fun, goofing off with my friends. I just want to do interesting stuff. That's one thing I love about staring is we can talk about just the most interesting thing. And the show we did this week that'll be coming up on the channel this week, most likely it's already there. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, it's probably there right now. But I haven't put it up as of filming this episode. It was a really, really good show. It was on psychic vampires, and we go through all of the different types of psychic vampires, the lore behind them. We talk about Chinese lore. We talk about all kinds of interesting stuff. Get into psychological stuff, science. It was a great show. And it reminded me of the shows that we used to do on Staring, which was, that's kind of what we got known for, was these really deep, information-filled, entertaining shows that you just couldn't stop watching. And that was one of those kind of shows, and I really dug that. We did one. I was talking to Andy before we started filming. We did one on Jim Morrison still being alive, and I went through that whole case and all the science behind the DNA evidence and everything, and it was really really a good show. So if you haven't seen that one, check that one out on the channel as well. It's youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. I guess you already kind of know that unless you're on Spotify, because this doesn't go out over the radio. This just goes to Spotify and YouTube. So you're probably already watching it there, so you already know where you are. So I'm just wasting my fucking breath. But anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to throw over to Old Boy, throw over to Andy. Whoever wants to take it, y'all can give your shout outs and we'll wrap up.
Yo. So, yep. Yeah, like saying that, man, about being in the paranormal as long as I have. It's been 36 years, man. And I really needed a boost like this. Like, I was at a point, I was like you, James. I was just like, yeah, I didn't even feel like going out and investigating some nights. And it was just because literally working with people that now when I had a chance to go with people that I had been with before that's been in it as long or close to it, or their mindset that everything isn't paranormal, then I would jump all over it. But I got some people that work for me that do investigations, and there's no, they don't know when, in other words, I try to find something, I always try to find a logical reasoning behind why that noise is what it is, why this is that, why this is that. Good example, real quick. The house that we have was built in 1853, and it was there during the battle. But upstairs, they've modernized, obviously, most of the house to a little bit. But you go up in the attic, man, you can kind of see the old age of the house. And we had a thermal imager up there, a FLIR, and we're doing it. And all of a sudden, I get a call from, or a text from my person that was out there sending me this photo that they caught on the floor that looks like a body laying on the floor. I mean, perfect shape, the whole 9 yards. And then not long after that, 2 nights later, the other guy out there sends me a picture of the same thing. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense. So we went out there and started trying to figure it out. I ended up finding it up there. Legs, head, the whole 9 yards, man. I go over and I walk over and I look, and here's the dryer duct from the dryer downstairs coming out right up out of the floor. So the head of this was where all the hot air was coming out. And then it would spread, made it look like shoulders and stuff like that. And then it would start to cool down. So then you had the legs. And it was like, I found that was just, was funny that it laid out that perfect figure. And I'm still debating with this other dumbass that I got that works for me that, so yeah, so being with Jason and them, man, and the way that they do things, you don't see how they discuss things until you're around them. And you're exactly right, man. If it's not haunted or he doesn't get anything, they're going to tell you that. If they think that somebody's pulling some bullshit, they've called people out. So yeah. So shout out to him, and those guys, man, for keeping it real. And that's exactly what Brandon Alvis and them are too, man. They don't do anything. They tell you Brandon's a huge history nut. So you get a lot of history. And then they have a guy that's like I think he's a scientist. I know he's a doctor of something. And then you got Brandon, and then you got Mustafa, who are, both of them are investigators. But, Brandon has a big background in film, and, they used some kind of camera the other night that's a NASA camera that NASA uses, you know what I'm saying? And it was pretty wild. But, and then Austin, he's, starting to get into his own. He used to be a little far-fetched, and now he's, starting to realize as he goes on, that not everything's paranormal, and, he really does that. So shout out to all of them for just keeping it real and doing it for the right reasons, man. And, I want to give a shout out to my sister, man, who I know is still around, but I want her to know her importance in my life and doing the things that I do. And the boys, my 2 sons, they're hurting. And, but they also remember her. And, my grandmother, 104 years old, I want to give her a shout out for still running circles the hell around me. And, and it's like, blessed to have that. And I think everybody that comes on and watches this on here, man, and I'm glad to be back. And, it's going to be good times. I look forward to it, man. This is something I look forward to all the time. And I'm actually can schedule it now because, I've got more workers at work. So look forward to it all.
Okay. So, yeah, I want to thank all those people you just did, your family. And again, I want to thank you, brother, for doing everything. Both of you guys are great. Thanks, Jason Hames. Thank you, Sean Austin, and a couple other people. But thank you for letting Andy be on a couple things with you guys. We appreciate it. Hopefully down the line, they might be on this show. Just that's all I'm going to say. Not maybe this one, but another one that we do. But that being said, I want to thank you guys from Spotify. Thank you for following us. Always remember, you're going to find Staring, and you just go, and there's our channel where Screwed are together. So just so people know. And our show's are on James Hershey's YouTube page. Subscribe. Not the singer, him, because there's two of them. Sorry, he's not a singer. No more. But yeah, it's not the singer, it's the book writer. And subscribe, and we did that for reasons. And if you guys want merchandise at Teespring, staringintheabyss.com on merchandise, you can get shirts, you can wear Screwed, and get Staring, whatever you guys want. That being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed We're Screwed. Misfits, Trick Ladies, Monster Lovers, Demon Hunters. I fucking love you, and have a great night. From the greatest of all time.
Yeah, the other one on YouTube is Hershey. It's not Hershey. There's no H at the end. He's the singer. Yeah, but go check out the channel there on YouTube. That's the best place to watch everything because that's where you get the video. On Spotify, you just get audio. I was doing video on Spotify too, but I live up in the mountains, man, and my internet is poo-poo. It sucks. So, it takes me forever to upload stuff, man. So when I sit there and I do an upload of let's take Staring, for example. Staring is always in between 1 and 4 gigs, depending on how long it is and how much multimedia stuff I insert into the show. If I have a lot of clips I'm going to play or something like that, it gets to be bigger. And you would think, for Old Boy in California, 1 to 4 gigs, that'd be done in 5 minutes and he could go about his day. But literally, it takes me hours and hours and hours just to upload the show to YouTube. So I might spend 6 hours uploading it. And that's after editing and all that kind of stuff. So then I spend 6 hours putting the video up on YouTube to do the show. So then I turn around and put it on Spotify, and then I was sitting there spending another 6 hours uploading it again to Spotify. And I said, you know what, screw this, man. Spotify, nobody's watching that anyway. You know what I mean? If you're watching Spotify, it's when you're running or you're doing something else, you got it on in the background as you're cleaning house or driving to work. You're not watching it like you watch YouTube. So why the hell am I spending an extra 6 hours putting a video up there that I don't have to put up there? I can just put the audio up. That's what most people are listening to it anyway. So that's why I do that. But yeah, check it out. It's kind of weird, man. Your grandmother, I was just thinking about this. I remember what a lot of people don't know is me and Andy were in a band together many, many moons ago when we were young. And we actually practiced in his basement a long time ago. And it's funny to think of back then, she doesn't look a whole lot different than she did back then. That's the weird thing. And like you said, she's 104 now. Back then, she was still old as hell. You know what I mean? And she looks almost the same. And it's always surreal when I run into her because I'm a lot different than I was back then. I used to have hair down to my waist. You know what I mean? I was a crazy, leather jacket wearing madman. And now I'm getting to be an old man myself. And then she's still the same. It's like talking to a fucking vampire. You know what I mean? Because she never ages and she does not. And this is going to sound crazy. Okay. Y'all are going to think I'm lying, but she does not seem old. She looks old. Don't get me wrong. She looks old, but she doesn't seem old, dude. She will literally, like Andy said, run circles around you. She's full of life and energetic and just funny as hell. And it's just surreal when you run into her because you're like, you're not aging at all, and I'm getting old as hell. And how are you not like so old you can't even move? How are you still running all over the place and hiding in Walmart from people? That's just madness to me. But anyway, a cucumber. What is that all about? Okay, so Andy's getting strange. We're gonna get out of here. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I think he needs to go to bed. He's been up too long. As always, up to you to make up your own mind, and we'll catch you on the next one. Till we speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye bye.